Hi, this is Catherine. This is Taking Tea with Catherine. This is ribocinnamon tea from Ahmad Tea. Tea I've had for a little while. The Strand is a bookshop in New York. If you haven't heard me talk about it, it's a fantastic bookshop. I didn't buy this mug. It was a gift from a coworker, a former coworker who was really corny and plays on words, which was kind of fun. So when he got this for me, he said, "Now you can say you've been mugged and stranded." So I had this at my office for so long, and I realized I only drink tea there about once a week, so I might as well give it a chance to have some circulation at home. And I've missed this cup. I've missed it so much. So it's home. So I'm going to do a Friday reads, but before I get started into what I am reading and planning to read over the next week, thought I'd mention just heard the news of the death of a historical novelist who I love. My first big historical fiction writer that I loved was Jean Plady. She got me into really loving English history and then going on from there. But probably the second one is Sharon Kay Penman, sometimes known as Sharon Penman in some places. And then I would say probably around 2002, 2003, and for years onwards, I was reading her books. There are so many of them, and they're so big, and there's so much to read, and I loved it. I love reading about the Tudors, but she did not have Tudor focus at all. So much about the Plantagenet time period, from the pre-Plantagenet time, when Christ and his saints slept, which says here, Henry the First's courageous daughter Maud became the mother of kings, paving the way for Eleanor of Aquitaine to electrify the medieval world. So she wrote a lot about Eleanor of Aquitaine, who's one of my very, very favorite historical figures ever. So that just went hand in hand with my interests, who I intend to read another biography of soon because it's been a while. I'll mention that another time. But she wrote a trilogy about the Welsh princes at the end of the time of the Welsh princes when the English dealt them such a blow that the term Prince of Wales took on a completely new meaning. And a lot about like the, I guess you would say still the Crusades, medieval times, whatever. I don't think she wrote anything past Richard III, but that's what she's probably most popularly known for, the Sun and Splendor, which was written in the 80s, I think, and very sympathetic toward Richard III. I'm the kind of person who kind of wants to think that he was a bit nicer than some people have made him out to be. I'm willing to hear arguments on both sides. Was he responsible for the death of the Princess of the Tower? Directly or indirectly, we don't know. But there's evidence either way, I guess. But this was amazing. And very good. There's her newest book I've been meaning to buy at a certain place that I've been checking on it to see if the price goes down because I'm cheap. But maybe it won't, so I'm probably going to get a hold of it either way. And if it's not at that bookstore, I don't even want to mention where it is, even though you probably know where it is, because I talk about the bookshop so much. If it suddenly disappears from there, I see that it's going to come out in paperback soon, so I'll probably just get it in paperback, because I have other books in paperback. I have another one up there somewhere, but it's like a advanced copy about Richard the Lionheart. But fantastic writer. She will definitely, I will miss her, even though, I haven't read her most recent novel. It's been out for a while. But I remember many hours of enjoyment of history. And I recommend, if you haven't read her books and you're at all interested in English or Welsh history, she tends to put Welsh people in her stories, even if it's not directly about Wales. I really do recommend her. So, yeah. That's just a sad moment. But so I'm going to move on now and talk about books that I plan to be reading and some that I plan to finish. I'll just start from the smaller size books and work my way up. Smaller just in tininess and able to hold in my hand. The last book, oh my goodness, so big. Anyway, And that's not going to be a size order. So I did finish one of the mystery novels I was reading. I won't talk about it yet because I like to do teen mystery. So I started one of the cozies I have out from the library, and it's about a cat and a guy who works in a library. So that seems to be apt. Murder Past Due. I'm still in early days here. The murdered person is not dead yet, but probably will be soon. And the cat is cute and makes all kinds of trilling noises. Apparently doesn't meow really. It's a Maine Coon, so that's kind of cute. It serves its purpose really. It's not I don't think it's gonna be my top favorite cozy mystery novel ever, but it's kind of nice, and you know, it's good. I don't know how much to say. It's early days. Not early days is Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. I'm probably gonna finish this really soon. We got what, one full week of January left, so hopefully before the next Friday reads, if I do a Friday reads next week, hopefully I will have finished it by then. I really like this book, but I can't say I like it as far as like, oh, this is such a fun read kind of thing. No, I mean there are interesting parts, but it's a bit sad and frustrating. Surprisingly, the actual crime of Crime and Punishment is not the biggest emphasis. It's so weird, but I don't think this is going to be my favorite book ever, but it does have a bit of a feel of my early classic reading years, classics on my own, not in school. When I used to read a lot of French novels, it has a similar feeling to that. A few English novels remind me of that, but not quite. Yeah, so a little bleak, but pretty good, and I'm getting toward the ending, and it's kind of getting exciting. The action is getting excited. This and Family Parsonage, which I'll mention in a moment. I'm at that point where I always talk about riding a bike, and it's funny because I don't ride bicycles. But when you're on a incline and you go over a hill or something, and then suddenly you're going down and you're picking up speed, that's how I feel with these books. Like they were taking a while, but now they're really coming to a head, and I'm happy about that. I'm still glad I read it with a group because maybe I wouldn't have had the discipline to read it if not. Family Parsonage is more enjoyable in a cheerful way. There are some sad, frustrating moments for people. There's like one family that their life is kind of like a mixture of Dickensian and Bronte, and almost Russian, almost, but not quite, in their despair. But hopefully things will look up for them. With Trollope, he tends to give the bad people some kind of comeuppance at some point, usually, and then the good people or the decent people tend to have a decent ending, so I'm hoping for that. There are characters from the early Barsetshire novels that make a reappearance, which is good because I like continuity. And so I'm looking forward to finishing this and then to starting the next book, which I don't know if I'll read anytime soon. I want to read it soon, but so many books I'm reading. We'll see. It's hard to put things in priority, A book that I also just started recently, I didn't just start Family, but anyway, I should have said that after Murder Past Due. Yes, I know I'm reading a lot of books at the same time. This is me, okay? This is me. I can't help it. I don't know. Whatever. I don't want to say ADHD because that is so, flippant to say something like that, but I do have a way of flipping through channels with books, Doesn't mean I'm not invested in them. But anyway, so I just started The Mystery of Mrs Christie by Marie Benedict. It seems good so far. I'm not totally invested in it yet. It's just another retelling of the disappearance of Agatha Christie for a few days, and I saw a movie about that on Netflix recently, which was pretty good. Wasn't amazing, but it was pretty good. And I saw, of course, the Doctor Who episode that every nerd points to as the definitive story of what happened to Agatha Christie. But I like this so far, but I don't really have much to say about it yet. Just briefly speaking of Netflix, I just was reminded of someone whose books I kind of like to get a hold of, and that's Fran Lebowitz, who I've heard of over the years. She's been on Law and Order. She's a writer, obviously, and she's been on many interviews. She is very much a New Yorker. She didn't grow up in New York, but she spent so much of her adult life in New York. She's basically a New Yorker. She has a program on Netflix where Martin Scorsese interviews her, and then there's other bits about New York. It was done before COVID, so it has that feeling of New York as it was, which is kind of nostalgic, I find her interesting, Friendly Woods. I saw her also on The Booksellers, where she was interviewed because she's a really big book person, and that is what I can get on board with. There's not everything she says I agree with. She doesn't like pets. She smokes, which I'm very much not a smoker, um, and she just doesn't own pretty much any modern technology beyond like a telephone, but not a cell phone, a telephone, and like a television. But she reads books, so that's great, So she's got a lot to say because she's a reader. So we like our readers, don't we? So yeah, that it's she's on a program called Pretend It's a City, and if you like the whole kind of cranky New Yorker type of person, I find her somewhat relatable. Then I kind of recommend that. But that's not a book. If I can get a hold of her writings, I will. She's not that prolific, but we'll see. But that's a story for another time. Speaking about a New Yorker who came into New York as an adult, but basically lived in New York most of her life. Someone I've been talking about a lot this month. I finally got a copy of it. It's got a little tear on it, Letter from New York by Helene Hanff. This is the book that I got mixed up with Apple of Her Eye, but now I've got it straight. The tear that was on it, I don't remember getting it when I first opened the package, so I don't know if it's recent or if I'm just noticing it. But what do you guys do with that kind of thing? Do you put a Scotch tape on it or something? Or what do you do? Please let me know. Nothing too creative because I'm not that crafty. So this is what sort of perspective on the world is conferred by an observatory perched over the intersection of 2nd Avenue and 72nd Street in Manhattan? For 6 years, 1978 to 1984, Hanff looked out her window, and each month for British radio scripted what she saw with the airy weight of artful, ephemeral tea time chats. Tea time chats! So I like that. Publishers Weekly wrote, Hanff's love of her adopted city is reflected in upbeat anecdotes describing New Yorkers at their best, as good neighbors and charming eccentrics. So that's pretty cool. So I don't know if I'm going to start this weekend, but you never know, because once I get going reading Helene Hanff, I just keep going. So we'll see. So another book that I started this week, which I didn't plan to start, but then I suddenly did, was a book that when I was visiting California, I went to San Diego to visit my friend who is one of my best friends, who I traveled with the past 2 trips to London. We went together. And before that, we were close. We went to tea together a lot. We went out to eat a lot of places together. We took a lot of walks, especially in New York, together, and traveled a little bit together. And she likes books. She's not like doesn't read the volume of a booktuber, but she still enjoys her books, especially history books and some science as well. So we have a lot to talk about when it comes to books. So when I was visiting her, we went to Verbatim Books in San Diego, which was a great bookshop. I really recommend that bookshop very much. And there was a book that I saw and thought about getting, but at the time I had actually reached my limit. Like, okay, I can only buy these many because I have to actually get them home. Even I have a limit sometimes. And yeah, so, it's like when I've been wanting to buy that Sharon Kay Penman book in that bookshop and just keep putting it off. But anyway, but my friend ended up getting the book, and so I knew she had this book. And then I saw it in Book Off for $1, like not long after I got back to New York, and I got it. And I was like, yay, I got this book. And I saw it again recently, and it was a really nice copy, but I said, don't be like that. Don't get another copy just because, even though it was a beautiful floppy paperback. Oh, it was so beautiful. But I got practical and kept this one book. We talked on the phone recently about, maybe doing a kind of not a book club per se, but like a buddy read, I guess. And we're trying to talk about what books, and I realized we both have this book, and I was pretty sure she hadn't picked it up yet. So I said, let's give this book a try for like a month or so and see if we can read it and talk about it. And that is Bill Bryson, One Summer, America, 1927. I think it was recommended on Katie at Books and Things channel. I think so. I've read a lot of Bill Bryson, so I already wanted to read this, but hearing it, hearing someone who I trust with the recommendations say good things about it was great. it's a bit of American history of 1927, a little bit about the aviation time period, Lindbergh and all that stuff, which I've never really been into, to be honest. But I don't mind. I don't mind reading about it. It talks about a Queens housewife that kills her husband. I promise you, not all people from Queens are murderers. I'm from Queens. And also about stuff that was happening in the South and Al Capone, all these kind of things. I do kind of like reading about the 20s almost everywhere, but especially parts of New York, parts of the United States, and I guess France are the most interesting places. Sometimes it's London as well, and probably other places that I'm not thinking of right now because there are billions of other places to talk about. But this is mostly about the United States. But I could do with reading a little more U.S. history, so why not? I enjoy Bill Bryson's writing. He lives in England, but he's actually from America, so he's got that kind of dual perspective, I guess. So I just started that. It wasn't expected because I have so many other books in my TBR for January, which I'm probably just going to carry on till February. Spoiler alert. Another book that I had seen recommended on Amy from the Dusty Bookshelves channel and Hannah's books. And I thought, oh, that sounds good. So now I'm going to get it out from the library. And it finally was available at the library. It took a couple weeks. And it is a big, can you hear that? Big, heavy, massive tome, over 1,000-page doorstopper. I'll probably have it out to the summer because I'm just going to take my time with it. It seems like a good book to take one's time with. Let's see if I can pick it up. The Novel, a biography by Michael Schmidt. Novel biography by Michael Schmidt. So I just started, so I can't tell you much about it, but it is just about about novels, just getting into it, and I guess different aspects of the creation of novels and the history of novels, etc. So I will talk about it more when I've read further into it because, now I'm just speaking out of, whatever. But it seems fun. I think there's other books that I have going, but these are the ones I plan to read the next week because, again, I have a lot of books to read. Yay. As far as magazines, I subscribe to London Review of Books because, I don't know, London. And I like it so far. I don't know if I love it, but, give it a shot. But then I realized I wasn't getting a lot of them suddenly. And so I got in touch with the office emailing, and they had been falling behind, but now they're back, and then all of a sudden I got a whole bunch of them, so I've got like a couple of them going that I haven't started yet, so I may read some of that over the weekend. And I think that's enough, right? So yeah, it's a lot. Let me know what you guys are reading this next week. What you got going, what you think you're going to finish, maybe, I don't know. If you've been reading any of these books, if you've read any of these books, if you don't recommend any of these books, I don't know. All the things. If you've read Sharon Kay Penman at all, what do you think of her? And, yeah. I think I never met her, but there was an author chat online about, years ago, over 10 years ago. Probably 2009. And where you're able to put your questions in, and she did answer a question of mine. No idea what I asked because I looked for it online and the site had archived it, which means it's hard to bring back, which is kind of a shame because I remember I liked that she answered my question. You get excited. But yeah, it's a sad thing about people, people come, people go. What, Freddie? What's the matter? What's the matter? Oh, he's here, but you can't see him because he's on my lap. He's hungry. He had dinner, but I feed them in increments, so, now he's hungry for a second dinner. Anyway, he's like, why am I on this channel? I'm hungry and I don't need this. But anyway, so that's all for now. Hope you've had a lovely week and I hope you have a lovely weekend, etc. I will probably be doing some hauls soon because that's what I need is more new books. Right, Freddie? Oh, I gave him a shock. So this is Catherine at Taking Tea with Catherine. Freddie, have a lovely tea and book-filled day. Goodbye.